I'll run you through today some high-level stuff that I recommend to save hundreds of thousands opening restaurants, cafes, or bars. Like I've done this hundreds of times in every category. Yeah, burgers, pizzas, dumplings, high-end smoothies, cafes, nightclubs, whatever. They're all the same. They're all different, but they're all the same. It's all the same stuff that's going onto these, and I've just seen over and over and over again the best ways to save money on this. So I'm just going to run through, I think, 5 or 6 different things on how to do this. So again, same thing I share on most of these videos. I've done this so many times. I'm not just some guy with an opinion. This is based in real practical application of all the hard-earned lessons. So this number one is the easiest and most obvious. It's tasting over existing spaces, right? Like, obviously you don't want to take over a dud location, but if you can find a location that's pretty damn good, and someone else has gone in there with a crappy concept, or they've just screwed it up somehow by not executing it well, they're, amateur hour done it, but they have paid for the extraction system for the kitchen, all the fire protection systems, all the sprinklers and stuff, the flooring, the bathrooms, the ceilings that go in, the standard lighting, all the electrical, the plumbing, the grease traps. This stuff is so expensive. And you've opened this before, you opened locations before, this. This stuff is boring and expensive and costs so much money. If you take over a space and make some minor changes, and then all your money can be put into the cool stuff that makes your space feel amazing. From the furniture to the wall finishes, to the lighting, to how the counter's built. All this stuff that your customer's actually going to enjoy, you can spend, instead of spending $600,000, you can spend $150,000 or, 100 instead of 400 or whatever your numbers are. It's really quite amazing. And I've seen people, I've got one client who's opened like 30 burger shops doing this exact process, and he's able to pay off the cost of his build out or his fit out in a few months, and he's making money and he can move on to the next location. So next one is don't automatically take the cheapest quote. That is a trap I've seen people fall into again and again and again, and it's almost a trick that contractors do. They'll put in a low bid or quote, they'll get the job, and then in the middle of the project, you're stuck in there, you're moving, you've got to be open in 4 weeks because you've hired your staff, you've sent out your comms to everyone saying this is opening day, and they'll say, this part of the duct work wasn't included in our bid or our quote, or this part of the flooring, and you're left with time pressure to choose in that moment whether to accept their price or not. They're like, it's another 15, 30, whatever $1,000. And you don't have the option then to go out and try and find someone else, because that'll take a week to get that price. And then that person's got to slot in at the right time for the project. But, that flooring or that duct needs to happen this week. So you're trapped, and this just happens over and over again. So that, you're spending 15, 30, 40, 50, $100,000 more on change orders or variations. And so don't take the cheapest quote, go with the most thorough bid or quote. And if it's too expensive, we'll take things out of your design, like change things to bring that down. So get competitive ones, get multiple, get 3 of them, but go for the most thorough and work with a contractor that you can trust to hit your budget, not charge you for change orders or variations. Because, if you can find a reliable person and they're very thorough and they're honest with you, you can't get something for nothing, right? So if it's too low, it's too low for a reason, and you're going to get hit with it later on. And that cheapest bid or quote is going to be the most expensive in the end. Again, I've seen this happen so many times. People are like, no, I'm going to take the cheapest one, and it's not the cheapest. So, work with contractors who are experienced in restaurants and cafes. I don't care how good someone is building homes or building out offices or shops or whatever. Restaurants, cafes, and bars are very special, unique things. the extraction hoods or canopies, ventilation or whatever, there's different language for it throughout the world, are specific things. There's specific requirements and legislation around these. The same with flooring, the same with the plumbing and grease traps and everything. You've got contractors that have done 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 restaurants, cafes and bars before. They know the stuff. They pick it up in advance. Someone who's only done homes before and is your mate or he's your friend who is really good, they're not going to pick up on things. They're not going to realize certain pieces of legislation that are required, that, your deep fryer might need to be a certain number of inches or millimeters away from a wall, whatever the requirements are in your country. They're going to miss these things. And so I think it's really important to find contractors that have done this multiple times before, because they get it. They know things you don't know. And if you can find ones that are customer or client focused, that have your best interests at heart, then it's going to make your project so much easier. So it's a strong recommendation. And again, this is where you save money, because the inexperienced ones don't know what's coming up. And that's where you get those change orders of variations, 20 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand. Next up, you do not need high-end design, furniture, lighting, finishes, millwork or joinery unless you're high-end fine dining. And high-end fine dining, you should be using a high-end designer, and you can spend your millions doing that. But for everyone else, customers care, and even in fine dining, they care much more about comfort, service, acoustics, music, being in a space that feels good. And you do not need the most expensive, best versions of everything to achieve that. You just need a design and furniture and colors and materials on the walls that make sense to your concept, whether it's a regional type of food from a particular country, whether it's Mexican or Spanish or Indian or whatever, and the design kind of makes sense to that concept, or whether you're fun and cheerful or you're traditional and serious, whatever it is that you're doing, as long as your design connects to that, and then your layout is efficient and makes sense, and your furniture and seating is comfortable, and all the hundreds of different things that go into these, it doesn't mean that you need high-end solid timbers or $900 lights and imported tiles. You don't need any of those things to make a space feel good. And if you go for those things, your budget is just going to go up and up and up and up and up. You can make spaces feel incredible, and I can show you how to do that for a lot less. So something to bear in mind. All little costs add up. Just like running a restaurant or cafe or bar, like making more money and more profit is no big one thing. It's all the small tightenings on labor, on, supplier costs, on, setting up your staffing levels, to every half an hour, to, making sure that your recipes are properly costed and measured, and all the little things that add up to make a more profitable business. The same thing with these. You got to find better prices, negotiate better prices on everything from flooring, cutlery, lighting, your design fees, your furniture, your equipment, everything. Just be negotiating, finding better options, and all those little, over 200 things, save $500 a time. That's $100,000, right? So like all those little costs add up to make these things cost less, which means you can open up more of them and pay it off sooner. Look, buying used, this is somewhat controversial. I agree with it. You don't have to do it. Sometimes if you are further down along your journey, it gives you the peace of mind to buy something new. You got your warranty, it's all taken care of. But if you genuinely want to save a bit of money and you're happy to do a bit of running around, going to the used restaurant auctions can save you massive amounts of cash. There are so many restaurants, cafes and bars, concepts opened up by inexperienced people that then fail within a few months, and it's a horrible, sad, financially destroying thing to happen, but that equipment has to go somewhere, and it might as well go to you for a discounted price. So you can find a lot of great stuff at these. And as long as you've got a decent repair person around or on your books, then this is a manageable risk in my mind when you can potentially easily save, $50,000. Right. What's the next one? Don't blindly trust designers or other professionals, right? Number 7, you're the only person who truly cares and is impacted by budget or cost blowouts, right? Like, your designer may be amazing, but it doesn't really affect them, right? They're not going to lose sleep if it goes 10 grand, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand over budget. They might feel bad. They might be stressed out, but you're the one that has to wear that. So you need to stay on top of every selection, everything that gets chosen, managing the budget, on a weekly and daily basis so that it doesn't shift and blow out. Question everything, manage everything, be on top of everything. And it might sound a little bit overwhelming or like too many things, but once you've got that skill set to be able to do that, it's a very manageable thing to do. And if you're overwhelmed in your current business and you're looking to open up a new location, you're probably not at the right time to do it. Your existing business should be able to run largely without you, or else opening up more locations is suicide and stress increasing. It's not going to solve your problems. So it ultimately just comes down to having that detailed, clear knowledge of everything, and the peaceful sleep that you get from this. This is a solvable problem. The stress and cost of opening these things is a solvable problem, and just like every other problem in your life, it's just a skill growth. So I can show you how to do that. If you're interested in it, you can send me DMs on Instagram or however you want to find to contact me. But there is a way out of this. These are the key things that I know about how to save money, having the big picture versions of them. I can go into little detailed things as well, and they're all over my Instagram page as well. So hope that was helpful, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.